Hi, Julie here, and today I'm going to be talking about a new pattern that I have that combines paper beads with crochet. It's called a paper bead wrap bracelet, and basically what it is a paper bead bracelet with a loop at one end and a button at the other. And most wrap bracelets that you see, they wrap around your wrist as many times as you need to, and then the button goes through the loop to actually fasten it. But with this one, it actually is somewhat adjustable because this button can actually go through one of the loops here on either side of the bead. So that way, you know, if it's a little too long, you can just put the button right through one of those loops and it'll fit. Like this one, it's actually not quite big enough to go around my wrist 3 times. So what I do is I go ahead and hang on to it and wrap it around, put it through the loop. It's going to take me just a moment here. Put it through the loop, and then I pull on it to make it tighter. And then I wrap it around, and I find a loop on the bracelet itself. And sometimes it's better if you have another person to help you. It's going to take me just a moment to get this through. But you can go ahead and push the button through, and it's adjustable that way. And basically what I did is when I put it through the loop, see if I can find that loop here, I just folded it back onto itself. So here's the loop. And that's the way you can wear it as an adjustable bracelet. Okay, so what you're going to need to make this is you're going to need the instructions that are available at jpfun.com in the pattern section, and it is a free pattern. And you're going to need crochet cotton. You can really use any color that you want. I have a shaded pinks here, and this is where I keep my wrapper so I remember what it is. And I bought this quite a few years ago. So it's Karen, Grandma's Best, 100% mercerized cotton, and it's crochet thread, of course, and this is size 10, and they call it cotton candy. And this came in a 300-yard ball, and the style of it is 276A. I'm not sure if they actually make this color or not, but of course you can use whatever color you want. I just chose this because it looked great with these beads. Okay, you can also use other beads. These instructions are written so that it will work with any bead that you have as long as the hole is like a 5/64 of an inch. Even 1/16 will work, but that's a little tight. You can use these glass beads if you want, and I'll explain how you can use those. But basically, your pattern can be easily adjusted to work with the different lengths of the different beads. But I have actually made a whole bunch of these pink and white beads that I'm going to offer on my Etsy shop so that you can order them if you want to. And not sure what the cost is. They're not available yet to buy. But I will make them to order if I run out. And these are going to be a regular stock item. I'm also going to include a actual bead sheet that you can download and print off, as well as the template that I used to actually cut the strips down to the right size. And you're going to roll these up with a 5/64 inch paper bead roller when you actually make them. But this video is actually about how to make the bracelet, not how to make the beads. Okay, so what you're going to need your size 7 steel crochet hook, and I keep my crochet hooks in a kit like this. And here's my size 7. You're going to need a little tiny pair of scissors, so I pull those out. And you're going to need a tapestry needle that will fit through your button as well as your bead. And believe it or not, I actually have this pattern available on my website also. As you can see, I use it a lot. It's got coffee stains on it, but I happen to like it. The inside of it is plastic from, I believe, a coffee can lid or maybe one of those flexible cutting boards. But anyway, I made it cut it down to the same size as a business card, and then put them together. Alright, so I'm going to grab a needle, but I want it to go through my button. And these are the buttons I used. I bought 2 of them. And they're kind of expensive. I'm looking at the price, and I paid $1.96 for 2 of them. And yeah, that's actually kind of expensive. But anyway, these are the buttons, and this is the shank, you know, the hole. So you look for a needle that will fit through both the hole and that you can get your thread through. And this one looks like it'll fit. So you pass that through, it fits fine. So I set those aside. Okay, but you're not going to need that until the end, the button that is. So we'll set that aside for now. But you're going to need your crochet hook, and you don't need the scissors right off. But let's get started with the bracelet itself. Okay, on the instructions here it says to leave a tail about 12 inches long. And that's just so you can sew the button onto the end of it. So you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Make your loop. Wrap it around your finger and all that stuff. You know, make your starting loop, your slip knot. Put your hook in to the loop. And make a chain that will wrap around your wrist at least 3 times. Mine, I didn't pay attention to that. I just made it however long I wanted to. But you're going to want to make the chain, you know, in my case, I have a 7-inch wrist, so I'm going to make it 21 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, make the chain. As you can see, it's no big deal. Okay, so I'm going to keep making the chain. Okay, so I got my chain 20 inches long, and I just used a ruler to measure it out. And basically the way you want to measure it out is you want to lay it on your ruler, not so tight. You don't want to stretch it out, but you just want to kind of firmly just stretch it out a little bit and put it on your ruler and just let it sit. Let go of one end, so don't stretch it out. And then this is 12, and then I need another 8, so I'm going to check and see if I have 8. I have a little bit more because I added 20 stitches for the loop, so I do have at least my 21 inches, which is actually up to the number 9. So I have enough stitches left over to make my loop for the button. And in the instructions it says to make the chain 20 inches long for the loop, but just basically make it long enough so that it will slip over your button when you go ahead and do that. Okay, at this point, once you have your chain made, and you're going to go ahead and make your loop, so what you're going to do is you can eyeball it. There's nothing exact about this pattern. It really is dependent on the size of your button and the size of your beads. And with my button here, it looks to be about 5/8 of an inch. So I want to make sure that this will go over my button here. And you can eyeball it, make it, and you know, that looks to be about right. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into the back loop only. Okay, and anywhere, it's, you know, I'm not counting. And once I've made the loop, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, and you want to make a slip stitch in the back loop only and just pull it through. And then what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet in 2 of the next 2 chains in the back loop only. You're going to work on the back loop only throughout this whole process. And you're going to go 1, make a single crochet, and then 2. Okay, so I've got those 2. At this point, you're going to pull the loop so that it won't come out for this next step. You're going to set down your hook. You're going to drop this loop. You're going to go to your starter end here with your long piece here, and you're going to put your needle on it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fill the thread with as many beads as you can. So let me grab my chains of beads. I've got one that I've started here. It's going to take me just a moment to get it. Okay, so go ahead and start stringing on your beads, and you want to actually push them all the way up to your loop. That's why it's important that the hole in your beads be big enough to support the thickness of the chain. Okay, so what I should have done in advance is put these all into a little container. It would make it so much easier. Just go ahead and put them all on and slide them up. Put as many as you can up until the end of the crocheted chain and not the tail. You can space them a little bit because you're going to be working 2 stitches between each bead as you go. And I'm going to go ahead and string the rest of these on off camera. I'll be right back. So I have all my beads strung onto the chain, and of course I'm not going to use all of the beads because there's actually 2 stitches between each bead that's going to be spaced. But in order to be able to keep all the beads on my thread here, I'm going to go ahead and put on 1 more bead and use it as a stopper. You can also use a mini binder clip if you want. But this is an oddball bead. It's not the same as the rest. Same print, it's just not the same size. So go ahead and tie that on to the very end. And then when you're done, you can just go ahead and cut it off. That makes it really, really easy. And just do a surgeon's square knot or something to keep it on there. And as you can see, I have gone ahead, left just a few of the chains undone. I left 2 of them undone. You want to make sure that when you get to the end with your stitching that you're going to leave 2 of the stitches undone. And you'll see why at the end. But part of the reason for the stopper is so you can get all these beads and get them out of your way so that you can work. And you're going to be pulling them up as you need them. And you want to get down to just your first one for now. Okay, and you're going to get ready to actually stitch this in. And what you're going to do with each and every single bead is you're going to make a chain to go around the bead. And that's one reason why I'm doing this video, so you can actually see why and how I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up and I'm going to get started. And so I'm right here at the beginning of my bracelet here. I'm going to make a chain. I know that I need 7 because I've already made one and that's what I needed for this one. So it's 7 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stretch my chain. To stretch it as much as I can to pull it out from underneath my bead. And I'm going to single crochet in the back loop only of the first chain that I see right after the bead. Okay, so I'm going to stick that in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the next chain. I'm just going to single crochet in the back loop. When we go up the other side, then we're going to go ahead and crochet in that other loop that we didn't work into. Okay, so I've got my 2 single crochets, and we're going to pull up a bead. You can actually bring up 2 or 3 beads, just so it might end up being a little faster for you. Okay, so I'm going to pull up this next one, and do the same thing. 7 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, again, I'm going to stretch on it, pull on it, push this bead back up to the stitches, and I'm going to and if it twists inside the bead, it's no big deal. Just as long as the first stitch that you see coming out of the bead is workable, and you're going to go ahead and single crochet again in the back loop only, in the next chain, and then in the next chain again. So that way you have 2 stitches between each bead. So if my beads were different lengths, different sizes, I would want to adjust the length of the chain going around each bead. In this case I have 7, but if it was smaller it could be 5, it could be 4, it could be 3. If it was longer you'd add more. Okay, so again I'm going to pull up my bead, the next bead, stretch it as much as I can, do my 7 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to stretch it again, push my bead back up to my work, and I'm going to pull up my next chain as it comes out of the hole, and single crochet in each of the next 2 chains. And you're going to do that for each and every bead across, and but leave the very last 2 stitches or 2 chains undone at the very end. And I'm going to continue doing this off camera, and the next time you see me I'll be working on the very last bead before I turn the work around. Okay, so I'm at the very end of my chain. Got just one more bead to lock in, and so I'm going to go ahead and finish making my chain here. I've already got 6 stitches, so I'm going to go one more. Okay, and I actually do have 2 stitches at the end of my chain here that are left unworked, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2 single crochets, and this locks it in. And you're not going to put the button on until the very end, but you want to make sure that this end here stays intact because you're going to need it later. And you're going to chain 1 at the end, and you're going to turn your work, because you're going to start working on the loops that were left unworked, and you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 2 chains. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, so if you're using beads that are different sizes, one thing I had forgotten to mention is you should be writing down how many chains it takes to cross each bead as you go, so that way you can do the same number of chains going back the other way. But since all my beads are the same length, and I did 7 chains around each bead, that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to make my 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have my 7 chains, and I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 single crochets in the 2 chains that I had done previously. And you just want to stretch them so you can get to them. And go ahead and put the 2 single crochets in. And here's the second one. Alright, so I'm going to chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go to the next one and stretch it. Sounds like we're doing exercises. 7 and stretch, 7 and stretch. So that's what you're going to be doing all across. Is you're going to make your number of chains that you need, and you're going to work the 2 single crochets between each bead going back up the other side. And you're going to need to stretch your chain to get to them. And it's going to take me just another moment here. And we're going to do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one, stretch it open, and put the 2 single crochets in. Okay, almost there. Okay, and you're going to continue in this manner until you get to the other end where your loop is. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do to finish off the loop. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to repeat that all the way to the other end until you reach the loop. Okay, so now I'm at the end of my chain, and I've got all my beads worked in except for the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the last one, then we'll go on to the loop. And so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull your stitches out from the bead so that you can do the 2 single crochets in those loops. And there's one. Let's see. Yeah, you really do need to stretch it and pull it because I made them pretty tight. Okay, come on, get up here. All right, so we're going to do the single crochets, the 2 of them. And then there's the second one. Okay, now we're going to fill the loop with as many single crochets as I need. And you don't really need to count this, just fill it up. That's what the instructions say, just fill it up. And you don't need to go into each individual stitch, just go around the chain and fill it up with single crochets. And this might take a little bit of time. In fact, I may have made this loop just a little bit too big. In which case, there is a way to solve that, even though I'm at this point. There is a way to fix that. And let me look for my button. Yeah, the loop is definitely too big. So this is how you fix that. Believe it or not, this is the way you're going to do it. See, this pattern is very forgiving. But you don't want to undo those last 2 stitches. But what you are going to do to fix this loop problem, I'm going to probably take away 3 of my stitches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the stitches in the loop, actually working them in. I'm going to go back and you're going to catch these together on either side of the loop. I'm going to catch the individual stitches on the inside loops. And this, you can make your loop smaller this way if you made it too big for your button. And I'm probably just gonna take away 3 stitches or as many as I need to make it the right size. And it won't really affect your bracelet at all. Okay, and I'm going to do 1 more stitch. And when you fill it up, it'll make the loop just a tiny bit smaller too. Okay, 1 more stitch. And that's how you make the loop smaller, in case you wanted to know. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and fill up this leftover loop with all of those single crochets. See, I made a mistake. I made my loop too big, and instead of undoing the whole thing, there was an easy fix. And I just wanted to show you that, because like I said, this bracelet, there's really no rules. As long as you follow the basic design, you'll be fine. And plus you want to be able to, you know, make this with any bead that you decide to use, whether it's paper or not, just as long as that hole is the right size. And if you wanted to use yarn, make sure your holes are even bigger than the 5/64. Basically, it's the chain that has to accommodate the hole, that needs to fit into the hole. It's going to take me a few more minutes here to get to the other end of my loop here. And as you can see, I'm not counting. I'm not keeping track of how many I'm doing. I'm just going to fill it until I like it. Okay, so I can probably fit in a couple more stitches if I want to, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, that's good there. And I'm going to go ahead and put single crochets in the back loops of those ones that I stitched it to make it smaller, just to kind of blend it all in. And let's see. Almost there. And there were 3, so I'm going to make sure that there's 3. Okay, at this point, you're back to the beginning. And what you want to do at this point, you want to join it with a slip stitch to the first single crochet you made in your whole process. Make a slip stitch. And then chain 1, and then cut your thread. Make it long enough because you're going to weave the tail end into your work. And then fasten it off. And I like to put the thread on a needle when I'm weaving the ends in. Okay, so pull that through, and I'm going to weave the ends in the back of my work. So I'm going to turn it over onto the back, and I'm going to weave it through some stitches. Take your time with this. It could be a little tricky if you're not used to working with thread, that is. And you don't want to go all the way around the loop because that would make the loop so it won't stretch around your button. You just want to go through maybe 5 or 6 stitches and then work it back through those 5 or 6 stitches to secure it. And you can always put a tiny dab of glue on the very end just to lock it in place. But this is the way I weave all of my stitches in. I run it through a few stitches and then run it back through. And believe it or not, I'm having a hard time seeing this. I need a new pair of glasses. It's going to be a while though. All right. And I'm going to try to weave it through a couple more stitches here. There we go. That made it easier. Okay, now I'm going to go back through the stitches I just worked, simply because I don't want to stiffen my loop. Okay. So you're going to go over one thread, and you're going to go under the others. There. Okay, so that works. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to trim that off. Now I'm going to sew the button on the other end. Okay, so believe it or not, I did end up with a few beads left over. No big deal, I had a feeling I would. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off this bead as close to the bead as I possibly can. Set that aside. And then take these extra beads off because I don't need them anymore. Save them for another project. Okay, I'm going to put my needle onto my thread. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. This time, no problem. Okay, now I'm going to look for my button. There it is. I'm going to put the button on and bring it up to the end of my work. And you want to look at it. You want to see which side is the right side. And of course, it's the side at the top of the chains. So you want to try to aim to put your button on the top of that chain. So we have this little knot here. I'm going to bring this to the front, and I'm going to go through the button and keep going, coming up through the back. I'm going to do a few stitches like that. Through the button and through the back. Do that as many times as you need to secure it, or until your needle won't fit through the button anymore. Like now. If you need a pair of pliers to get it through, go ahead and use a pair of pliers. I'm stuck. So, if I could get it through there one more time, I would. Let's see if I can get it through there. And since you know what, I have a whole bunch of needles, I'm going to see if I can get a smaller one. Okay. One that's a little smaller, because I am determined. I want to make sure that I can get through one more time. It just makes me feel better. Okay, I think I have a smaller one. We'll try this one. That's the beauty of having one of those needle holders. You can hold all sorts of sizes. I've got tapestry needles, yarn needles. I even have an upholstery needle in there. And don't know why, but I do. And this one's going to be a little bit harder to get through, because it is smaller. Alright. I know you guys probably have lots of tricks. There, got it through. Okay, one more time. One more stitch. Make it nice and strong. Got it. There. Now, again, I'm going to weave this through onto the back side as best I can, or just knot it, however it works. And this is also a point where you might want to add your dab of glue just to secure it in place, like super glue or E6000 or something like that. Anything like that will work. Okay, so I am done with the bracelet. Let's snip off the thread. And that's that. It's all done. Stick that button through that loop, and you can actually do this. It's actually long enough so you can wear it as a necklace, or you can wear it as an ankle bracelet, and of course you can wear it as a wrap bracelet. So this is another way of putting it on. There we go. Look at that. Plenty big to go around my wrist. I made it bigger than this one, but there it is, all done. Alright, so I hope you like the bracelet pattern. Like I said, it's available at the JPF Crochet Club website at jpfun.com. It is a free pattern. Look in the jewelry section, and you'll get this project sheet, and I'll provide separate links for the bead sheet and the cutting template that goes with it. So if you want to make the beads, you can. And but there won't actually be a project sheet on how to make the paper beads. If you want to learn how to make paper beads, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, and I actually do have a website at paperbeadcrafts.com, which has all sorts of instructions and videos and stuff that you can access. And if you liked this video and you want to see more, go ahead and click the red subscribe button below the video, and go ahead and hit the like button. And go to paperbeadcrafts.com and jpfun.com for more patterns and more paper beads. And we'll see you next time. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.